What's up, my friends? Bryce Prescott here. Get ready. I'm going to be live streaming the newest episode of the Bryce Prescott Show, and I've got some great stuff to talk to you about that could make a difference today in how you're doing. We've been hearing this all over the place. You need to do the work, do the work, do the work. But yet I'm going to talk to you about something that if you're actually doing the work and not getting the results, that you need to recognize before you keep doing more of the work. Anyway, so sit back, relax, grab a drink, engage, share, do all the great stuff I talk about when it comes to this podcast and these live streams, and enjoy yourself. I'll see you on the other side.
You are now listening to the Bryce Prescott Show. The festivities will begin in 3, 2, 1.
Yo, what's up, people? It's your boy. It's another good one. It is episode 39 of the Bryce Prescott Show. First of all, thank you so much for being here. If you're watching the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, or Periscope, it's on Twitter. Thank you. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for everybody to engage on whatever platform that you're most comfortable with. Truth be told, man, I kind of like my podcast. It seems like it's starting to evolve. I'm starting to get the rhythm here. This is episode 39, and I'm finally starting to get a little bit of a pattern. Where do I mix in the funny, and where do I not? Where do I give messages that are like coaching based, and hey, man, time to get your shit together, and when do I just fucking talk about how stupid people are and make jokes? I think I'm getting there. I'm going to start off with some funny, dude. I saw on Twitter today, this is fucking crazy. Like, drones with a flamethrower option are now a thing. I'm not kidding. Like, DJI, which is like a major like drone company, they have like the Phantom series and they've got the Mavic series, I believe. They now like some like crazy entrepreneur has made it so that you can actually like put this thing up close to where the camera is that has like a fuel line, and you can actually you can have your drone become a flying flamethrower machine. How badass is that, dude? I just want to know what the application of that's going to be, you know? Like, is it going to be like the next level of, like the next destructive level of TPing? Is the army going to commandeer this and like have it be something that like, you know, it's going to be, if you guys have seen like Justice League, you know, those like crazy flying dudes that are like the evil guys, is it going to be like that, but like this metal army? Who knows, man? Who knows? This last week, it's been kind of crazy. I have my kids here with me, actually. For those of you that know me, you know, my daughters, I have 2 older daughters that live in Oregon with their mom, and they aren't here very much. They, you know, spend total maybe 2 or 3 months out of the year here, but it's kind of sparsed out over. And they're here for a month, and it's been awesome. But on the drive back from Oregon, I got a ticket. And it was annoying because there's this part in Oregon where like there's 70 miles of nothing but straight road. Like it's just straight road, 70 miles. It's like you're driving into this pointillism. And I passed one car the entire time I was on this stretch, and I was about halfway through it, and I see this little dot up in the thing, and he gets closer, and boo, you know. It was a cop getting pulled up. I just pulled over. He ended up giving me a ticket. By the way, what do cops do when they sit there for 45 minutes in the back behind you? Like, just, are they playing like, you know, Tetris, or like, you know, giving themselves a tug? Like, what are they doing? Call their mom? I'm always wondering that, because I'm not a cop. I don't know cops. Cops get a bad rap. I'm not trying to add to the rap that cops get, but this was kind of a dog shit ticket that the guy gave me. He like comes back to the car and he's like, "Hey man, I'm going to do you a favor." And I'm thinking, oh, cool, you're not going to search the trunk. I'm just kidding. I go, I'm listening, you know. He's like, you know, I clocked you going 93 in a 70, and I'm going to give you a ticket for 90 in a 70. That's not a fucking favor. Like, anyway. So I like was steaming thinking about this shit, you know. And actually, I've turned this into kind of a bit. Like, we have this whole thing where we're not intellectually honest a lot. Like, we lie a lot. We lie a lot. We don't mean what we say. We don't say what we mean. And that's one of those things. Why did the cop have to say that he was doing me a favor? There was no favor there. Anyway. So that's a little, this week's going to be a good week, though. I'm excited for the end of it. Meltdown in the Desert, the event that's organized and founded by Colby K for you guys here on Facebook. It's this week. So I'm recording this on Wednesday. and that starts Friday. I think he even has a thing on Thursday that I'm not going to. It's like some video thing with him and Tyler Harris. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. There's going to be people there in Arizona. Some of you might even be watching this right now that I've never met in person, but we've been social media connections, and I'm really excited to kind of put that to us. I really wanted to go last year to Meltdown, but I didn't. There was a thing with my kids, and I couldn't work it out. This year, I'm taking just a few short days to go there. My daughters are still here, but they're going to have like a girls' weekend with my wife, and it's going to be awesome. But anyway, I'm really excited to kind of see the crew and to see Colby again, see some of the other guys that I've met in person at the Outlier Festival, and just really connect. There's something about that connection in person. Social media does a lot of really great things for helping us to get a message out and to strengthen our personal brands and to give us opportunities to make money and to make impact and impact income, all that stuff. But you cannot overstate the importance of meeting people in person. You just can't. It's so vitally important to get your ass to events, to get to meetups, to really connect, even in your local cities. It's super important. And speaking with that, my message that I have today that is along those lines has to do with actually a local connection here, a guy that I've developed a great friendship with. He was on his Instagram stories today, and I'll give you a little bit of backstory, but this guy's name's John Madsen, and he's kind of a local hometown hero. He was a football star at the University of Utah that year when Urban Meyer was the coach. This was in, I think, 03, 04. And, the undefeated team that went to the Fiesta Bowl. He ended up making it to the NFL, played there's a Raider. He's had a performance gym here in Salt Lake for many years, helping athletes basically just to increase their strength, their power, the agility, preparing for combine. He does all sports. Very, very intuitive and intelligent guy when it comes to sports psychology, sports improvement, achievement, and how to understand what's going on there. He's got a really, really compelling story. I actually had him on my old show and interviewed him talking about how he played in the NFL, but he actually never played a down of high school football. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, but I've been in this podcast game for a minute, and I sometimes don't recognize how people perceive me that, might not necessarily listen to my show or be fans of my show, but yet know of I've been doing this for 4 years. I've executive produced Rules of Success, which was my own show. I executive produced this show, which, basically means I'm the creator and I handle all of it. I've been hired by other people to executive produce and create shows that I haven't even talked about before. And one of those shows went on to be an actual radio show on ESPN 700 here. So I know my shit when it comes to the podcasting game. Anyway, John reached out to me recently, and it's really, really cool to be able to be a part of this. He goes, Bryce, here's the thing. I want to start a podcast, but I don't know where to go to learn. And being that you're here local, I want to pay you to do it with me and show me the ropes so that I can do it right. I don't want to trip up the way that a lot of podcasters trip up. And he goes, and I don't want to buy one of those, video courses where I'm still the one figuring it out, even though I have access to all this stuff. I want the shortest route possible. I'm totally willing to pay for it. And so we worked out a deal, and he hired me to executive produce his new show. And so we're in the process of creating that. It's going to be coming out here. There's a good chance it'll launch within a month, but we're giving us kind of a month to 2 months window to really get everything going. But one of the things that it's allowed me to do as, kind of figuring out his messaging and what would be best on the, kind of the back end of things, I've been consuming a lot of his content. And he said something to me, not to me, but he said something today that was so profoundly awesome that I wanted to talk to you guys about because it shoots holes in some really important stuff that we just kind of take as face value, right? So you guys have heard there's all this talk. I've even said it where, do the work. If you want to succeed, you have to do the work. You've got to get in and get your hands dirty. You can't be lazy. You've got to be doing the things necessary to get you from A to B to C to D when it comes to whatever it is your project is you're trying to do, whether it's money you're trying to make, impact you're trying to make, impact and money you're trying to make, whatever it is, you have to do the fucking work. Can't get over it. And I 100% agree with that. But John was talking about something today. He was sharing on his stories about this scenario that was happening. And he actually received some criticism from a parent of one of his newer clients. And the parent basically said that she didn't think that the workouts were intense enough for her son. And John's rebuttal was like, we are rebuilding his foundation. And he said this phrase that just fucking stuck with me. He says, do not add intensity over dysfunction. So I want you to think about that. Do not add intensity over dysfunction. Doing the work is intensity. It's adding intensity, adding effort. But when you do the work with outdated means or outdated mindsets or outdated skill sets, you're doing exactly what he talks about. You're adding intensity over dysfunction. Using, working out and fitness is a very easy kind of connection here. I remember when I first started working out with John, this was years ago. This guy was, he was a really big part of my kind of where I'm at now with these massive guns you see. Just kidding. He really helped me to understand at my age what I needed to do for my body to be able to achieve a different level of fitness. I'll just leave it at that. And, one of the things I remember, there was about a 3-week period of time where, like, for example, my squat form sucked ass. Like, I had a really weird hump in my back. I wouldn't get right. Like, I would kind of go down funny. I was putting all this pressure on my knees. My knees were getting over my toes. It was bad. And John, it was one of his trainers actually goes, no. Like, so they stripped all the weight away from the bar and just focused for literally about 2.5, 3 weeks on nothing but high rep perfection with nothing but the bar or very, very light weights on the bar doing squats so that I could get the range of motion perfect and I could strengthen those support muscles that made it to where my form was great. And when I would go up and down, there was no extra additional pressure on my lower back. Everything was great. Then once I got my form done, it was no longer dysfunctional. We were able to add intensity. Well, how does that apply? How does that apply to, business or self-development or improvement or marriages or things like that? Like, if you aren't doing it right and you just do more of what you're doing wrong, even though you're trying to do it better, it could actually make it worse. And so that's why you hear floating around all over the place. Every time you pick up a self-development book or listen to a self-development podcast, they talk about how mindset is the first thing that you have to address. Your mindset is basically your filter. It's the filter to which you look through when it comes to the what you can achieve, how you can achieve it, when you can achieve it. And I love that filters now, like with social media, are so like it's an easy example to say. You go to Instagram, there's freaking 20 filters or whatever, and each of them has a different perspective. Well, if you think that when you do a certain action, it's going to bring a certain result, but you can shortcut certain things, and that's a mindset that you have, that's a dysfunctional mindset. You have to readdress what it is you're thinking and why you're thinking it and how you're thinking it first. Meditation is an easy way to really kind of get under the noise of your life. Expressing thankfulness, being in the mindfulness state, not just of a specific meditation program or starting your day with meditation, but giving yourself time to be at peace. Time to do what you want to do, to honor your own interests and to allow your creative juices to flow. Like, you can literally be living a dysfunctional life and then get advice saying, just do the work, do the work, and you can fuck your life up even more. So you have to be very careful about the advice you take and then the intensity you apply to what you're doing. I've learned this firsthand, man. Like, I use that example with my with my squats. I had to relearn how to do it. I also have been noticing that in the last probably 2 years of my life, as you guys, if you followed me, I had I've always been somewhat of a hustler. I've always been involved in entrepreneur endeavors, making money. As a kid, I would, trade Matchbox cars with the dudes in the neighborhood. And if somebody had something I wanted, I'd figure out a way to get it. I was always hustling. And so I always had this mindset of like, I can pretty much get what I want if I apply my mind to it. Well, when the shit hit the fan for me several years ago, when I had the issues with my health, I had bankruptcy issues, I was sued by the state of Utah, I was sued by other people, I had all this stuff crashing down on me, I recognized, and it took me a while to recognize this, that I had adopted this mindset that thought that more money meant more persecution. That if I got more money and was able to get to a place where like I had the type of life again that you can't hide. Like when you have a certain level of income, you can't hide how well you're doing. Just your cars are too nice, your vacations are too great, your clothing is nice. Like you don't have to extravagantly flaunt it, but you can't hide it. I kept thinking that if once I got to that point again, I was going to have to deal with all that shit again. I was going to have the vultures coming after me and everything. It was going to be a big thing. And I was so beat up from the experience of failed business, of bankruptcy, of letting people down, of being seen as a failure, being seen as a fraud or a crook. That was the worst thing for me to deal with because I've always considered myself an honest person. Having to deal with all that shit, I didn't know that I had this subconscious belief, but I had this belief that the more money you have, the more I get to deal with that. And so what was happening is in those years, I was recognizing that I would get up to a certain income level and then I would never sustain it because I knew that if I sustained it, I would keep growing and it would end up doing. And so I ended up, I had a beautiful home that I ended up not living in anymore. I have a great house now, but it wasn't, the home I lived in before was right on a creek, 8,000 square feet, beautiful home. I started looking at, things like the cars that I would buy that I love to drive. And even if I could afford them, I would not want to do that because I would think of the perception. I thought about all the other crap that I used to do that I can never reconcile. And so I was almost like punishing myself in real time for crap that I can never fix anyway. And it wasn't until I started to address that in a very real way where I'm like, that's a mindset issue. I got to get over that because my personality, my energy is better with more money. I'm better at creating impact. I'm better at helping people. I'm better at setting an example. I know how to live that way and not have it fuck me over. But I, on a subconscious level, wasn't addressing that. And so it was holding me back. And I think I've pretty much handled that now. And so I fixed that dysfunction. And now I'm adding intensity to it. I've opened my opportunities to things like, for example, I never would have thought of being another executive producer again for a podcast, but John made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and so I did it. And I'm even willing to do that for other people. I'm even considering creating a program that would help people that want to get into podcasting to do that. That is an effect of me changing a dysfunctional mindset and making it so that it's now functioning properly and healthily, and now I can add intensity to it. It's one of the things that some of my critics, some of the people that criticize me, think I overcomplicate things, that I use too many words to describe something so simple, and I need to be more direct. And while I can appreciate their criticism, where they get lost in their criticism of me is that one of the gifts that I have is that I'm able to see angles from the get-go that most people can't see. And what that's allowed for me to do is to either recognize from the get-go that that's a bad, the entire thing is a bad way to go and I stay out of it, or it helps me it stops me from being really intense when I don't need to be intense. Now, the reason I bring that up though is because this is the type of thinking where somebody might think, you're overthinking it, dude. Like you're making it too complicated. Just go fucking do the work. Yes, go do the work, man. Do it. Don't hold back. Don't let your brain get in the idea, am I doing? Like, no. Get in the game. Get your ass in the game. Do the work. Get in motion. But also be willing to course correct on a regular basis so that you can know. Sometimes you might not even know that you have bad form until you put some intensity on that form, until you put that form under duress. You might not know that you actually don't have a success-based mindset until you start doing all the things you need to do to attract success in, and it's not coming, and you're wondering why. Your intensity is a key part of it. And you can actually, I'm not saying don't apply intensity, like blind intensity at all. I'm saying like you've got to understand that if you're aware that you're dysfunctional and you're applying intensity over that dysfunction anyway, like that's just a bad recipe. It doesn't work. So don't do it. Like, fix it first. I'm telling you, man, I look back in my life, there's so many damn times where I've had to redo things because I didn't take the time to prepare properly up front. And it wasn't like I actually needed to learn a lesson that I didn't learn, and then that's what made it to where I succeeded after the fact. It was just I was immature and overlooked things in the beginning that I never should have overlooked. And I'm willing to bet that that's probably something that you experience too. So, being that our main goal is to to live our best life, we're going to go out and run through fields and meadows and touch flowers and high-five strangers. And on top of that, though, we want to have great impact and great income. So, with that, though, we've got to make sure that we're doing, not only is our intensity at a level that produces results quickly, that it's functional, it's healthy. Our patterns, our form, our directive, our mindsets, our skill sets. Always be learning. Always be putting yourself in a position to be humbled because you aren't good at it, and learn it different. I had an interesting thing happen in my stand-up recently. Last week, I went to an open mic to watch a friend. And this was a guy that supported me when I first started, and so I went and watched him. It was his first time, and I chose not to perform that night because I didn't want to be wrapped up in my own energy. I wanted to really be there to support my friend. And so what that allowed me to do is to be in a observation mode, or every other time when I'm getting ready to go up in front of the mic, I'm nervous and I'm going through my material in my head and I'm like, okay, what am I going to say here? How's the room? Should I switch up what I was going to do based off of the people? I didn't have to worry about any of that. I was just sitting in there observing, watching around, watching the comics, enjoying it, having a laugh. And by slowing down to do that, I recognized something that was fucking me up, that was going to be an impediment to my growth as a comic, that I fixed now. And the last open mic that I did one on Monday night. I crushed it with brand new material. You don't ever crush with brand new material. It's really difficult. And I did. And so the point of me sharing that is that, like, you've got to be willing to course correct. You've got to be willing to look at the different angles, and you've got to be willing to, with your intensity, slow it down, correct it so it's functional in your actions, your mindsets, your skill sets, your habits, and then add the intensity back onto it. My buddy John very succinctly described that in his world with fitness and training for athletes, and I know that message transcends to everything we do. So the phrase is, don't add intensity over dysfunction. Always be course correcting. If you're not getting results that you want, consider why. Look at the mechanism of what you're doing. See how it is. More does not always mean better. And if you think I'm wrong, consider the last time you got drunk. Sometimes you get in that nice little buzz. You double that, it's no good. See? More does not equal better. Anyway, no intensity. Do not add intensity over dysfunction. Anyway, so just as a shout, if you guys see me in Arizona at Meltdown, come up and say hi. I'm going to be introducing myself to everybody. I'm pretty proactive that way, but I'm looking forward to that. If you're listening to this or watching this after that event, you got to get to it next year. It's a badass event. I'm really grateful to know Colby and what he's doing with that. And yeah, love your life, live out loud, and like I always say, until next time, take it a day at a time. I'll see you guys. Hey, wait, before you go, I wanted to tell you how to engage with us outside of the podcast. First and foremost, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating and review of the show. The link for that is in the show notes. Secondly, please reach out to me if at any point you were inspired by this show. At I am Mr. Prescott is how to get a hold of me on Twitter. At Bryce Prescott is on Instagram. Go to Facebook.com/The Bryce Prescott Show if you want to engage there, or go to BrycePrescott.com, click on the coaching tab, and pick up any of the 3 resources that I've got available for you for free. I look forward to engaging with you. Is that it? Did I forget everything? No, I think we're good. We're out.